order. So we are at 7:09 p.m. and we will call, because we are working remotely, we're going to call the meeting to order via a roll call vote so that we all know that we're here. So as for, it's not a roll call vote, I apologize, just by roll call. So I see her. There she is. Good work. Okay, just in time. So we're gonna go by roll call. Okay.
Yeah.
So here we go. So I've got Natasha Rivera.
Yeah, here.
Lydia Clancy.
Here.
Mary Branley.
Here.
Mara Hogan.
Here.
Thank you, and I appreciate everyone who is with us tonight for your patience as we are figuring this out, and appreciate your sticking with us. So first and foremost, we're going to do a roll call vote to authorize meeting remotely pursuant to the emergency executive order by the governor dated March 12th, 2020. So with that, I do ask with, again, this is a roll call vote. For Natasha.
Yay.
Mauro.
Yay.
Mary.
Yes.
Lydia.
Yay.
And Bethlyn, yay. I don't think I roll called myself in, but here I am, people. So, all right, very good. Thank you. So now we're going to move into approval of the prior meeting minutes. You'll see those in your folder. Thanks to Colleen.
Yes, thank you, Colleen.
Yes, really appreciate that. So what we're going to do is just run through and see if there's any that people have any changes on, and then the rest we will vote to approve altogether.
I have changes on two of the documents.
Okay, so can you let us know which two, and then we can see if anyone has changes on others.
The 1121 and the 1219.
Okay, so 1121 and 1219. All right, very good. Does anyone have any other ones that they feel like they need to change?
I already submitted mine.
I do not, Natasha. Don't.
Okay. Okay, very good. So let me just then go into this so we can take a look and say, so then that means that we have 11.7 and 12.5 that we can vote on together to approve. I'll entertain a motion.
11.7 and 12.5, you said?
Mm-hmm.
I make a motion to accept the meeting minutes for school committee meeting on November 7th and December 5th.
And I'll second.
Any discussion? Okay, so we're going to do all in favor. Again, we have to do that by a roll call because we are in remote meeting. So Natasha.
Yes.
Lydia.
Yes.
Mary.
Yes.
Mauro.
Yes.
Bethlyn, yes. Very good. So those are all set. Thank you. And now we'll discussion on what revisions to the other 2 minutes.
Mine were just grammar.
Okay.
On the 1121, the part where it says Nick Green, his name is Ned Green, and actually Green is spelled with an E at the end. That was the only thing on that one that I found. And then the 1219 one, under the executive session, it says that in that first line, hold on, let me just bring it up so I can.
I may have fixed it already.
Yeah, the not.
Oh, okay. Yeah. It says school committee would enter, would not enter.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. That was the only thing.
Okay, very good. So I think that we could also, recognizing those grammatical insubstantial changes, we could vote upon those two together too, as well. So we have November 21st, and we have December 19th, 2019.
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes of 11/21/19 and 12/19/19.
I second.
Okay, any discussion on that? All right, we'll take roll call again. Natasha,
Yes.
Lydia,
Yay.
Mauro,
Yes.
Mary,
Yes.
Bethlen, yes. It's 5-0. Passes, those minutes are approved. Excellent, thank you.
Woohoo.
Yeah, good to do something there. Okay. All right, so moving now into our next agenda item is Chairperson's report. For this, I'm just going to state what we're doing tonight and just explain. I just also wanted to wish for a happy Paraprofessionals Day, which was on the 2nd, I believe, the 1st, yeah, which was just kind of a nice thing to be able to mention. So just obviously, we are all trying to make things work the best we can. We've been trying to work out how to do this remote meeting, knowing that there's often many folks that would like to participate, and we invite to participate as community members and be able to be a part of our business meetings. This is what's happening as we did send a communication a little earlier, just explaining a little of how operations have shifted in light of the pandemic. So just to state how we're going to do for tonight, to be aware, obviously this is temporary that we're doing this remote meetings. So we realized that we were looking for an equitable solution that would be able to allow for both phone participation versus being available on the computer. And there were just no ways to be able to allow people to indicate during citizens' comment if they're on the phone, besides literally unmuting every person on the phone and asking if they had something to say. So the equitable way that we've done this is that if anyone has a citizen's comment that they'd like to present, then they would do so by emailing the chair and emailing to my, that's my email address, bhoulihan@maynard.k12.mass.us, and doing that prior to the public comment section was supposed to be at 7:15. Given that we have had some technical difficulties, and without objection, we will allow for citizens' comments to come in until such time as we reach that point in the agenda in the next 10 minutes or so. So that's where things stand at this moment and what we're doing tonight. So we will then read off the citizens' comments that we received, and if there are any that are just completely not relevant to the agenda items, then it may be that we would still take them into account and forward them on to everyone and make sure that they get addressed and put in the right spot, but may not be read depending on timing. We'll see where we're at, and again, this has all been very seeing how things go and then amending as we move forward. So we'll also be talking with other boards and seeing what they're doing. So I want to remind members that we're going to try to stick to our time limits for tonight. I think I said everything about the citizens' comments. And just so everyone's aware, and I sent this around to our school committee members, MASC has put out guidance for us as well. That's the Mass Association of School Committees. So they've been helping school committees understand the role they can play in leadership around this very unprecedented moment in which we find ourselves. And I just want to say, first and foremost, without taking a lot of time, that we truly wish everyone taking good care and being well in this extremely difficult time, and are extremely grateful for the dedication and commitment of everyone when there's such personal and professional upheaval. And thank you for what you're all doing on behalf of this community. That's all I have to say. So I'm going to move into the interim superintendent update from Mary Jane Rickson.
Hi, we have a lot to talk about, but I'm really just going to try to hone in on really some things that I have some answers to. And then later on in the, Irene is going to do more of the budget information. So I just wanted to go over a few things that have happened, but I do want to thank the staff for really doing a stupendous job. We're all navigating this, and I know that it's fearful for the parents and the students and even for the teachers. I mean, this Zoom is new for us, so it's very scary for me too. You know, are we on mute? Are we, you know, is the video camera on? So I do want to take the time personally to thank everybody. So I appreciate that. Okay, so the buildings have been closed to the staff since March 23rd. In talking to the town administration, you know, the best thing to do is really clean the buildings up really well. We didn't want people coming through, so that the custodians had to continue to go in and continue to clean. They've been central office and administrative assistants have been working out of the center office on a rotating schedule. I attend weekly conference calls with the commissioner and just to highlight a couple of things. All school districts must complete the 185-day requirement, and so our last day of school right now is slated for June 19th. School committees can go longer if they choose to, but that's a school committee decision, but really right now we are slated to June 19th. The governor submitted a bill on March 24th, which provided the Commissioner of Education to waive certain statutory requirements. And one of the things we were asked to do was hold off on submitting the Student Opportunity Act plan, which was due April 1st, but they asked people to hold off on that. We are waiting on legislation from Beacon Hill. They're looking to waive the MCAS requirements. We did hear that some of the appeals are not going through, so we're still waiting to hear more on legislation on that as well. We have no information on teacher evaluation. I do think that may end up being a district-based decision, so that's something we're also looking at. As you know, phase 1 of the extended school closure is now completed. We are really focused on providing enrichment opportunities for families. This was strictly voluntary for the students. We asked the staff to stay connected with the students, and this is really a good opportunity for them to become familiar with the technology. They did a really good job reaching out to the families. Incredible. Some of them really didn't skip a beat. Others, like me, were a little bit leery of this online platform, but they're doing a tremendous job. We are now heading into phase 2. Phase 2 is a little different in the fact that students, the work is not voluntary anymore, it is now mandatory, and students will be receiving credit for it. There are going to be expectations that we're putting out for the students to initiate this next phase, and hopefully when the MOA is signed, we can looking forward to having that done so that we can get moving on this. But we continue to focus on equity and access, and that's something we're continuing to try to make sure that we reach all students as best we can. Jennifer and Adam and Dan Costello have done an incredible job of really trying to reach out to students who need help. We've tried to offer Chromebooks to people. Some people need paper copies, so they're doing a really good job of finding out and identifying the people who need some of those supports. Phase 2 is going to impact the senior project, which is a graduation requirement at the high school. So expectations like outside placements and internships and job shadowing have been canceled for this year. So, you know, likewise, community-based projects and juried presentations have also been canceled. So the high school administration is currently working on a way to amend requirements for this year's seniors. Really, there's nothing necessary that we can do about that. We just have to really base that information on our circumstances. So it's unfortunate they did a great job with that. This would also implications for the prom, graduation, you know, step-ups. Really could have some impact on our staffing and our budgeting. So once this phase 2 really gets moving, the next step is to really start working on how the budget is going to be impacted and moving forward. So that is the next thing. Technology update, I have kind of a little timeline here. March 12th, we canceled school for the first time. And then on March 18th, 7th graders were notified that they can pick up Chromebooks, and Dan Costello, Trish, and Adam Steiner distributed about 50 Chromebooks to 7th graders. So we also released the school closure activities on our website for the curriculum. On April 2nd, Jennifer sent out a robocall asking parents who need devices to help with the internet to access, who need Jennifer left phone calls for parents who needed access to the internet, and we got about 50 responses. So looks like we might have to order an additional 100 Chromebooks, which Adam is now working on. I've talked to the town on that. So we have to be able to provide these Chromebooks to the students. So we're looking forward to getting those in place. And then we're going to start talking about planning out the remote learning plan, and that's something that we will be talking about later on in the presentation. That's all I have for now, I think. Yep, that's it.
All right, thank you. Okay, so I just want to give a last call as we're moving into citizens' comment. If anyone does have anything they'd like to submit as a comment via email, is bhulihan@maynard.k12.ma.us. So that's BHULIHAN, BHULIHAN. So if anyone did anything they wanted to submit. And I did receive one, so we're going to move into citizens' comment now, and I did receive one. So I will read anything that comes through, and while I'm while I'm reading this, and if anything comes in, I'll just wait a moment so we can see, given that this is unusual technology. I want to make sure that folks have the opportunity. So unusual for us, the meeting setting. Okay, so I received an email from, I apologize because I don't know that I'm going to pronounce it correctly, Woodor Lewis, who, do you know how to say it correctly?
Wooter. It's Wooter Lewis.
Okay, very good, thank you.
Yeah.
Well, following my request on January 30th, I would like to voice my disappointment that meeting minutes from school committee meetings are still not posted in a timely manner. In the January 30th meeting, Lydia Clancy also suggested that the budget subcommittee meeting minutes would be posted online. To date, this has not happened. I would like the school committee to make a commitment to post all meeting minutes, including subcommittee meetings, as soon as reasonably possible, and no later than 4 weeks from the date of the meeting. Thanks. So just so everyone's aware, we won't be responding to the citizens' comments in and of themselves right now, but we will be responsive to them. So just that you're aware. I'm going to look now, just give a moment to see if anything else came through in regards to emails. I am just refreshing my inbox just to see. I don't see anything that's come through. If for some reason someone did have something that they were trying to have come through, then as soon as we get it, I will make sure that that gets passed on. We're all going to receive that, so do not feel that it's going to be missed. And I'm just going to wait one more minute because I really just want to ensure that folks have had that opportunity.
Declan, are you going to reply to him?
I was going to forward that along and allow us to have reply to me to make sure that we're in order with that.
Okay.
So there'll be follow-up after this meeting. Okay, so I'm just going to take one more minute, do one more refresh, and then we will move along. Okay, I have nothing else new in my inbox, so I am going to move along to the next agenda item. Thank you. So the next agenda item is budget budget updates and timing of the budget public hearing. So I am going to ask for guidance, Mary Jane, as far as who you would like to be speaking at this point.
Is Irene, are you ready to speak right now? I don't have my agenda up, sorry.
Yes.
Okay, did you, that information, can you present what I put out, or do you want me to do it?
I've not done the screen share before, so if you can do it more quickly than me, feel free.
Oh, I can't do the screen
I
share.
basically have it memorized.
No, you can just, if you want to just talk about it, I think they all have copies of it, so you don't have to do a screen share.
Okay, that's fine. That makes it easier.
Yeah, I don't know.
Basically, the bottom line that people want to know, care about the most is we should end fiscal year on 20 pretty much on point. Okay, we should come in pretty much having spent as much as we had budgeted. For those of you thinking, wait a second, are we saving all this money with the schools being closed? Yeah, no, we're not. And for every little bit that we're saving, more is getting spent, either because of something we're doing, the extra cleaning, some overtime for the custodians, needing 100 more Chromebooks than was originally planned. So all those things balance out the surprisingly minimal amount of utilities we're saving, because the schools, the buildings still have electrical needs. Lights are the least expensive part of your building. The bigger expense is keeping all your systems running, and those fans and motors are 24/7 just to keep the system, again, moving. And the heat, again, same thing, that you can only set it so low. It's not like your home thermostat. The school buildings have to run a little bit differently. So again, the bottom line is, at the end of the year, by the time we add some extra costs to what we're saving, we're on point. So we're going to be good for this year. Some other interesting things are going to happen outside of general fund, but general fund is good. As far as budget subcommittee and meetings that you guys have to tell me, you tell me what the dates are, I'm there. I have nothing to do with setting those times or agendas.
I can talk a little at that budget. I finally pulled it up, so I can talk a little about that. Just based on the initial school closure, we have been saving a little bit of money with, substitutes, so that we're saving some money in that as well. Professional development, there is some money budgeted for conferences, so we may save money there. Again, utilities, not so much. Copiers.
But don't we have to provide professional development?
We do, but we'll, a lot of it is online now, so we might, to bring the vendors in, that's what.
Oh, okay, so we'd save the money on the conferences, but we'd use it for other, okay, got it.
No, we'll definitely provide the PD. It's just the money itself. Everything's free now, so it works out pretty good. Yeah, we're offering PD to staff. Another thing is copiers and classroom supplies. We're not copying nearly as much, so we'll save some money there. I know that's an issue with some people too. We really have no savings with sped tuitions. We really have to pay that. We have to pay our collaboratives and our out-of-district placements. They are moving forward to paying their people, so we are obligated to pay them as well. So, everybody has to pay everybody, and that's really what it's coming down to. Transportation, I'm going to have, what is
You
your
can
name?
talk to that if you want me to.
There you go. That's Irene. That's what I was saying. I need Irene to get back.
Okay, as far as the transportation piece goes, there will be some savings. We just don't know how much yet. But we have a vested interest, as does every district, in keeping our bus companies alive, so that when we reopen, whether it's May or June or not until next September, but we need them ready to roll. And if they go under, they're not going to be ready to roll, and we may not have buses available, and that could be very problematic. Now, that said, they should not need 100%. We do have a working group that for each, and this is going on throughout the state, all of the districts that work with any given bus vendor are working together to negotiate as a group. Now, we are the smallest district that works with D. All the other districts are larger. But we're still there. We have a voice, and we do have 3 people leading a team that is negotiating with them on what would be a reasonable amount to pay during the time that they're not doing pickup and drop off, but they are still maintaining their fleet. They still have to have insurance, on the buses, even if they're not on the road. They are doing maintenance. And they still have to cycle the buses through based on how many years they've been in service, number of miles, et cetera. So they have a fair amount of overhead cost. It's not just drivers. And again, the service goes beyond just pick up and drop off of students. So stay posted on that one. Should be similar in terms of sped transportation, but that's a conversation that is still in process. I'll let you know if we can have any savings there. Again, there should be some, but we need to keep these companies whole or they're not going to be there. And especially with the sped transportation piece, you cannot not have transportation when we reopen for your sped students. So that's what's happening with transportation.
Okay. I think that was all that we had on the budget, as far as I can see. I don't have the other agenda in front of me. Are we going to talk about the last piece? I think pre-K. I think that's going to be at the end, correct?
That's at the end. I think that the part of the this conversation here was also to try to consider the public hearing. We we generally have that happen in April
Mhm.
for the budget. And I guess I would love to hear first if there's anything that, I don't know if I don't think that we've, given that we are 3 weeks into what has been happening, I don't think the budget subcommittee has had a chance to meet. I don't think anyone understands yet as it's emerging what the budget impacts would be on for the town to consider for all the departments, including the school department, and any what might happen for the next fiscal year.
I did reach out to Mary and Lydia. I think it was last week, I believe it was, maybe the week before. I don't know. My weeks are just turning into a big ball of mush about that same topic. But I do know that the FinCom had a meeting last week that I attended, and I know Board of Selectmen has a meeting coming up. So I think we're going to plan something shortly after they have their meeting so that we can see where we need to go moving forward. I don't know if this is, have been out yet, but I do think that, I'm sure that the public hearing meetings aren't going to be till later in the spring. So that might be something that, we'd have to see what evolves with that. But I think we're kind of on hold until we decide, what we have out there for funding. So we're kind of at a standstill right now.
I had a question about timing wise. Do we have in consideration for the pieces that were being looked at, some contractual timelines that we need to work around as far as budget, what we were talking about for budget, or what was some of the conversation pieces for budget for next year?
I'm not sure I understand the question.
So I guess where we have certain, if there's other staffing or considerations that we need to, that are not flexible, that we talked about, I don't know, there was staffing issues in general. But I know that those are not movable. Right?
They're not movable, correct.
So would it be helpful to work back from that timeline on?
The problem is we have to really we have to sit down and talk to the budget subcommittees. How are we going to really take a look at the budget again is really what we have to do, because it may impact more than initial. It may be more.
Right.
What
And it sounded like last week, Greg was not prepared to have any type of soft numbers.
But in terms of letting people know, we have a deadline that we need to let them know by.
June 15th is Mass General Law. We don't wait till June 15th, but Mass General Law is June 15th.
Okay, all right.
May 1st, I believe is my understanding.
Mm-hmm.
Do administrators have different timelines though, potentially,
No,
based on any of their specific contracts?
it's just usually 60 days.
Okay.
Like a plan to get together for the budget subcommittee in the next few days.
Yep.
Yeah.
So with that in mind, I'm wondering about the public hearing. As far as, my guess is that I think April 16th would have been the meeting at which we did the public hearing. I'm guessing that at the very least, we know it sounds like that does not make sense to potentially move forward with. I want to just bring it up and see what you thought would be a good thing to do in relation to that at this time.
I mean, I'm not sure how you could do a public hearing, a Zoom meeting with the public. I don't know if that's even feasible, to be honest.
We don't even have all the facts yet to have a public hearing.
Yeah.
I mean, so that's
the budget we have, and is that an appropriate budget? I don't know. So I guess that's where I'm struggling.
So do we postpone until we are able to get more information from Greg?
And I think we'll have more of the information later in the week.
Okay. So I don't think that we need to take an official vote on this at this point.
It's not to take a vote on at this point.
No.
To postpone that. It's just everyone to be aware that that's what we're doing.
Right.
Also, in the past, our public hearing has been based on when the town meeting is, and we don't even know when the town meeting is going to be. So we could just backtrack from that.
Right.
Still a lot up in the air that we need to figure out.
So I want, so Mary, you and Lydia, and did I hear right that you all will be meeting in the next couple of days with Mary Jane?
Yeah. well,
And so since a lot of these pieces are evolving pretty fast, I'm guessing Greg might have more information. Maybe at the end of the week would be helpful to get an update so we can see if for forecasting out, how long in advance do we need to post a public hearing anyway?
I don't know.
I don't know, but it's in conjunction with the town and FinCom, isn't it?
Pauline knows the details.
The budget hearing, are you referring to how
Yes.
advance has to be 7 days in the newspaper prior to, no less than 7 days prior to the meeting in the newspaper as
In the newspaper.
48-hour posting that we normally do.
And that is our own independent public hearing that we as a school committee hold.
Correct, the one that talks about the budget.
Right. So that could take like an extra week to get it in the newspaper potentially.
Because we need to make it
Like we need like a 2, right? So a 2 or 3 week, at least.
Lead time.
Yeah.
I believe if I get it in by Friday, it's in the following week in the newspaper.
That's just good to have that time frame in mind. So as we're thinking about when we want to schedule that, we'll probably want to give ourselves about 2 weeks or so.
Mhm.
Size show up a lot more on Zoom remote meetings. I do want to, while I was thinking that, I want to mention that I've been having meetings all day, and every now and then, I think with the bandwidth with everyone online, if you can't hear me, just someone's going to have to let me know if I go in and out. So I apologize if that happens. Hopefully it won't. All right, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but I did mean to say that. Is there anything else that we feel like we need to discuss in relation to budget, or are there questions that we need to talk through right now? Obviously, there's a lot that is unfolding. It sounds like budget subcommittee will meet and do and just collect what they know thus far with Mary Jane and see what they need to do next, and then we'll get further communication.
Yep.
Okay.
I've been in regular contact with Greg, so, you know, I think,
Yeah.
you know, I think we're getting there. We're getting there. And I talked to Mike Guzzo today, so, you know, he has some ideas, but, you know, we have to make sure everybody's on the same page. I don't want to say anything that's not, you know, out there yet.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the things that part of the conversations is the roof, obviously, that came up at FinCom last week for Green Meadow, and also how that we need to factor that in budget wise, but also scheduling wise and scope wise as well.
And considering if that could happen potentially during the year, so timelines in relation to that as well.
Right.
Again, all very hypothetical right now, but needs to be considered, right? And then I do want to mention that I was, Mary Jane was going to keep an ear out, and I'm sure you're very interested to hear what I say next, Mary Jane. Just seeing what about phase 1 for the MSBA and and seeing they did just postpone the statement of intent for anyone that wanted to intend to enter in to that process. So we'll see if there's an extension related to the consideration around town meetings and this process and what's all going on there.
Oh, the commitment of funds for the feasibility study?
Yes, and the process that they've asked us, the timeline and process they've asked the towns and districts to follow in relation to committing to that study, which requires a town vote. So that's still also to be considered, but also another thing to kind of directly turn to after we feel like that we've, as Mary Jane suggested, have addressed what needed to be addressed to move into the next 3 weeks of learning.
Do we think it'd be helpful to do any type of outreach to Kate or Jamie about the MSBA consideration, as it is a state agency, that, you know, if there's ability to allow extensions for deferment for that piece for a year, so we don't lose out on an opportunity potentially?
Yeah, that may come down the lot. Right now, I know they put some extensions on the initial call out for MSBA's, but as far as projects that are in the works, I haven't seen anything yet. I mean, I suspect that as with everything, people are going to ask for these things. And I think once it gets to the top, right now, it's not on their radar. There's so many other things that people are working on right now, Natasha. So I think it definitely will get there, because I think everything else is going to have to move at a different pace. So, you know, we'll keep
It's been funny because they've been posting site visits for different schools. So clearly they're on track. I was like, they're not looking like they're slowing down, which was surprising.
Well, I mean, there are people, you know, like, for example, I'm just going to say some exciting news. My son just got a job today. He's graduating from college and he's all set.
Oh, congratulations.
Yay. And just found out today, and he's working in Hudson, just to let you know. What I'm saying is he's going to work for a company that does engineering and things like that. Those people and I said, are they working? And he said, yeah, they're still working. So today, those people are still moving forward. So it's hard to tell.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just because we all close down, everybody else kind of moves on, you know.
Good. So that's an important piece that we'll indeed need to return to soon to see what needs to be done next. There's some good discussion around some of that possibility. And I don't know if it does seem that makes sense within the budget subcommittee to look to and see, and then we can figure out what we do. Any case, we know that's a piece of the puzzle that we need to consider after we get through this.
Out to Kate and just have that conversation, but like Mary Jane says, they've got a lot on their plate. So.
Yeah,
there's a lot going on.
Yeah. All right, great. So I appreciate that everyone's everyone's plans and looking at this for moving forward in the discussion today, and all of the work in relation to the budget as well. And laying out to Irene, like what would seem in your mind like oh geez, well, at least like one if you've got to look for one thing, at least maybe we're saving some money to recognize that we're not, but that's because the due diligence to try to do whatever we can to make sure students have what they need to learn as well is very important. Okay, anything else? All right, we're done with this topic a little early. I'm using the timer on my phone because I forgot to bring a pen upstairs with me in my so I'm using the timer for keeping us on the agenda. So we are now next going to be moving into the preschool reimbursement considerations. We have about 10 minutes for this discussion, and I will give that back over to Mary Jane and set us on 10 minutes.
I will be passing that ball on to Irene.
There we go.
Thanks. Okay, so what's happened is, you know, obviously, I shouldn't say obviously, people that pay for pre-K paid for the months of March, but they only got 2 weeks out of the 4. And so, you know, not surprisingly, several people have said, I wonder if we're going to get reimbursed. And there are even some people who had paid in advance for the month of April, and a very few people who had actually paid for May and June as well. So at this point, we would be looking to reimburse the people that paid, you know, for March, for one half of March, and the people that reimbursed for April, you know, all of April. We're not yet gonna look at reimbursing May and June, because if we reopen, the hope is that we would reopen the preschool as well and people would all come back. There is the option of simply waiting until we know for sure and just crediting people. So if you paid for April, well, now you don't have to pay for May because you're already paid. In terms of money, if I remember correctly, we're only talking, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Mary Jane, a couple $1,000s. It's not a whole lot of money.
I think I have it up. Hang on.
Okay.
I have it if it's what you wrote down in the thing.
Yes.
I don't have it up. So what do you have, Lydia?
It said if we were going to reimburse parents for half of March and all of April, the total to be returned would be $15,940.
Okay. Okay.
Where is this information?
It was in the folder for the materials for today's meeting.
Said
So there's,
7A NPS COVID-19 budget effects. It was
Yeah.
that file. So, and if you scroll down, you'll see it.
At the very
Oh, it's-
bottom.
Hold
It's
on,
the
it's
last
not the
item.
meeting folder for tonight.
Yes.
Yep.
So we're obviously still paying the teachers. And teachers obviously are not doing any online, they're not doing any online learning, right, with the preschool? So it's basically stopped.
We're doing online learning with preschool.
Yeah,
You
no,
are.
they are. Yeah.
You can open up Jennifer. She can talk about that if you'd like.
Yes,
Yeah.
please.
Great, yes. I would like to hear that.
Oops.
Okay.
So we are doing something similar with the preschool teachers as we are doing with the other students. In fact, I've received phone calls from families, preschool families, looking for devices to support their students' learning. So we can expect that that learning will go forward. Certainly for our students with special education needs, but then also for anyone who's within the preschool and on those listservs would get that information as well.
I guess I don't understand why we're treating this situation different then, because they're getting the learning. I know that they're paying tuition, but we've got the teachers that are teaching and the students that are learning.
Yes.
So,
That's what I was, they're asking for reimbursement because they're not here. So I just,
Yeah, we're in discussion. In other words, there's not yet a set, we haven't said, yes, we're doing this, or no, we're not doing this. It's still up for discussion because I believe, especially for the parents for whom this is quote optional, they can opt out. They can say, gee, no, just as if they had moved out of district. Nope, we're done. We're not coming to the preschool anymore. The special ed kids, they're not going to opt out. And realistically, they can't.
don't want them
So
to.
that's where we still have our staff, okay? Because we have to provide services for them. They're not going to want to opt out. They are using the services. But the other ones, and again, this is something to be discussed. What do we want our policy to be? You have the option to opt in, and therefore you're not going to get reimbursed, or you'll get reimbursed only if you opt out. I mean, that's kind of, again, that's to be discussed.
How many parents have you heard from that want to opt out?
Oops, let me check.
Number if it's $15,000.
So it looks, is it 31 parents are billed monthly, 28 parents are paid through March.
But how many of those have decided that they want to opt out?
Well, we haven't given anyone that option per se. In other words, we have not contacted the parents and said, here's your options.
Okay.
Right.
Because we don't have a policy that says those are our options. Mary Jane, do you know how many people, no one's contacted me directly, not surprising because most of them probably don't know I exist. How many parents have contacted us and said we'd like a refund?
I just had one parent who was inquiring as to what the process was going to be for somebody who prepaid till June. I had one parent. But I think there's 3 parents that are actually in that situation, but I've only directly heard from one. So I just, I didn't have, I said, well, I will discuss this with the school committee and we'll make a decision.
Because it looks like we also have parents who owe us for March.
3.
So, right, it's a balance.
And we do have parents that have a direct deposit directly taken out, and I believe those payments have stopped for some of those parents.
It says 5 have paid for April, 4 have paid the whole year.
Yeah, I don't have it in front of me.
3 owe us. So, I mean, preschool is not mandatory. So I don't know if that is a little.
They might have been people that have been furloughed or hours cut or things like that too. So it could be more.
Right. It's typically for childcare, often as a primary need. Do we know what other districts are doing as far as preschools?
To be honest with you, it hasn't even come across the radar. I have not seen it all in the listserv. I can ask. I have not seen that anywhere, which is very surprising, to be honest with you. So,
Yeah. I think it is a good question, and it's a fair question to ask. So I think it would be helpful if you see if anyone else has dealt with it.
Or even like local preschools, you know,
How
you
about
have
the
that
one that Michelle-
offer pre-K programs, you know.
Right, like the one in Hudson there that Michelle.
Kids a Lot in Stowe, you know, they go through.
So obviously the kids aren't getting the level of learning they would have otherwise.
Right.
And at the same time, I guess, and I say this with all understanding of the irony. No, there's no child that is right now, right? There's no,
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry?
No child that is what?
There's no child that is getting, like they're going to be getting the best that is available, what could be provided, like the kind of, the remote learning option is the option right now, starting tomorrow, right? And so that's, I don't know, it seems, I'm wondering about some other option too. I appreciate the opt-out option, but a discounted option because they are paying as opposed to they're paying for a service that they're not fully receiving as opposed to. And
that's an option, the discount, you know, because they are getting services. I will ask the listserv.
If they chose to.
I mean, it's a hard balance here because I know a lot of it, you know, to Mary's point is, you know, people are, at home. And so sometimes they don't need childcare, which is a primary need for preschool.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking at the numbers here though, which is a hard thing it just will add to the, the district financial impact. You have 4 have paid the whole year and 5. So, I mean, I think it needs to be equitable, like whatever you do for one, you have to apply the same towards all. I just wish we had a little bit more information about what's similarly happening in other areas.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
And we're still paying for the teachers one way or another, right?
Yes, because we have to have them to meet the needs of the SPED
Services,
students.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I just checked my listserv as well for SBAs, and yeah, this, I think probably because of the numbers involved, this is so far below transportation, SPED, and other issues. Yeah, I'm sure it'll start to be talked about. Marianne, I'll put it out to my listserv as well, and we'll try to get you some more information.
Yeah, I mean, I know that also the state they're having all these different bills that are coming through, with relief on different levels. I don't think I haven't seen anything about this, but it might be helpful to, if there are, what kind of relief, because I know there's some districts where kindergarten isn't full-time, right? Parents pay half-time. Yeah. And so how are they handling, that's a very similar situation, right? So how are districts that are doing part-time handling kindergarten, handling reimbursement or not? I just, it's a tough call there, just without having a little bit more information.
Yeah, I agree. I think I just wanted to put that on the radar because I know that, it's something that we're going to definitely have to discuss. So, I think that we will put that information out, and at the next, whenever we have a meeting, maybe we can have a better plan.
Is that something you need more timely than not? Or, I mean, just maybe circle back to the people who've asked and just say, we're in discussions and we're getting more information. Okay.
Yeah, I will contact the parent again. I said, I'll get back to you. I didn't have really information because, as I said, it just
it's happening pretty fast.
I did answer the first time, so I'll go back. I'll circle back.
And obviously we could, for our central meeting at point of need, we can schedule meetings out to be able to look at some of these things, because there's going to be more like this that kind of happens on an ad hoc basis and needs to happen pretty quickly as it unfolds, right?
Yeah. I don't think we're going to be able to wait 2-week kind of intervals.
Yeah, for certain pieces.
I think we're going to have to develop something and really just make it thoughtful and whatever we do to be equitable, You do have to be mindful that it is an opt-out option. So, There's also that. So there's a lot to balance with this decision. I mean, as you said, preschool, even kindergarten are not required. So that's that.
I didn't realize that there was an opt-out. We might want to create a policy about that, because if we have kids that are opting out on a regular budget year, that will, we're counting on that money, and then all of a sudden it's taken away.
Well, I don't think it's something that you would normally do, but I think if they're, if they have, as Natasha said, they use it as a daycare, and if they don't need it at the daycare, then why put them, maybe
Not
they're
worth it.
And a parent, on a regular basis, when you think about it, a parent can unenroll their child. What is the current policy for enrolling preschool right now? I mean, technically, couldn't a parent just say, I want to unenroll my child?
I don't know. Jennifer, do you know the answer to that?
My guess is yes.
Yeah, I would think so.
That's what I would expect.
So if the parent can unenroll their child anyway, and that's what they're asking essentially, is that they be unenrolled and not pay. I mean, I think that also needs to be a piece of the puzzle as well, is that they're not obligated to pay even during usual times if they don't want the services.
All right. So very good. So you'll gather more information. We'll see what needs to happen next in relation to that, if we need to have another meeting so we can vote on how to move forward with that in relation to reimbursements. Okay, thank you. So I heard Irene and Mary Jane, you'll put that out to both of your listservs.
Yeah, you're going to put it out. And
Great.
I can have Jennifer put it out on hers, so.
Yeah, excellent, thank you. Okay, so we're gonna move to the next agenda item. So for everyone to be aware, we're going to move into executive session per Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A3, with intent to return to open session. This is to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining, if an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining, specifically the Maynard Education Association. And I believe that this wording is not correct, but this is what we have on the agenda, the Maynard Paraprofessional Association. So I understand that there's terminology that is, that this is inaccurate terminology for how to refer to that.
Educators. Yeah.
Paraeducators.
I think it's Maynard.
Maynard Education Support Association.
Thank you. So I also just want to say that having this discussion in an open session may be detrimental to the Maynard School Committee's bargaining position, and this is why we'll enter into executive session. So what we're going to do to enter into executive session is we will do this by roll call vote, and then we will be able to, at the bottom, we should be able to move to breakout room. And you can see that the host is inviting you, so don't join. Don't join until.
I was looking for it. I couldn't find it. I was getting nervous.
Once you go there, you can't come back, like real quick.
Yeah, well, you can request to come back. It's okay. You won't get back. You can leave
like a black hole. I did that with Kylie the other day. All of a sudden, I was in like a space by myself.
So we're gonna go by roll call vote. I see right now Mary Branley is on mute, so we'll need to unmute her again. So let me unmute you so that you can. Well, I don't know what just happened. Sorry, everybody. So with that in mind, I have I'm going to go by roll call vote into this executive session. Lydia Clancy.
Yay.
Mara Hogan.
Yay.
Natasha Rivera.
Yay.
Mary Branley.
Yes.
Bethlyn Houlihan, yay. And we'll be joined by Mary Jane.
And Jennifer.
And Jennifer.
One quick question, Mary, Bethlyn. 30 minutes, it'll be 30 minutes. I will.
It's going to be 30
pause the
minutes. So
recording.
we will return by 8:23, or let's say 8:24 to round it up.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I can't do math at this hour of night. That would be 8:34. 8:34. Thank you.
Do I join now?
imagine, there's a lot of moving parts to discuss. So in relation to that, thanks to those that are still with us, and we are going to move on to our next agenda item, which is to present that we have now chosen to approve by 5-0 roll call vote to enact the memorandum of agreements that were presented for the Maynard Education Foundation and for what is, again, I'm so sorry that what's the new name that I don't
Maynard
have.
Education Support Association.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So I have to unmute a few of us because in coming back to open session, we are muted. Okay, very good. So, so both of those are now enacted. I am going to be digitally signing those, and before, and then they will be presented to staff. Then they will go with our other collective. We have a page on our website where we have collective bargaining agreements are placed, and that's where those MOAs will be placed. And then, so that's where things stand with that. With the MOAs, there were no changes. Discussion was around what was there, and we're very appreciative for everyone's commitment and dedication. That was a lot to get done, and we're very grateful for what everyone has done to get there. We've literally upended public education. Like the whole premise of public education is that children go to the buildings and the teachers in the rooms and their presence and they're learning. So we've literally upended that, and here we all are. So thank you for what you're doing. I'm now going to just let Mary Jane and Jennifer let the leadership describe kind of a little bit in relation to the supporting documents and how this is going to roll out.
Jennifer.
So
over.
So we've, again, as Bethlen indicated, we want to thank the Maynard Education Association, excuse me, for their collaborative work on this. Also want to thank all of their membership and the, I'm going to get the name wrong, I apologize, the Paraprofessional Educators Association as well for their work on their agreement and all of their members. It has been heartwarming over the last 2 weeks what our staff have done to attempt to reach out to our families and our students. It was heartwarming for me in that all of these conversations we were having, we were focused on making sure our students were okay, that they were healthy, that they were taken care of, and that was the most important component. And I also want to thank our educators in particular for understanding how to really flip, as Bethlen said, education on its head, which is what we're doing. So essentially, as I sent out in an email yesterday, some very broad generalities. The next elements of the remote learning plan will focus, in terms of academic experiences, will focus on essential skills and concepts. Teacher teams will be working together to identify, they are currently doing that, identify what those essential skills or concepts are that they want students to get better at, and find multiple ways where students can practice those skills or essential concepts. They will be sending communication out to families weekly with those activities that students can do. They will be called, I believe, remote learning plans. So that will be sent to parents weekly and to students weekly for approximately half of the amount of time that your student would have been in school during a traditional school day. As I indicated in my message that went out to the community yesterday, I do think it's important to note that we are not in homeschooling. Not only is homeschooling, generally speaking, take less time than a 6-hour or something day, but also homeschooling often involves doing things that we can't do with our students, which is going to museums and having experiential moments. So we are in a very different realm here. And want to make sure that families are aware of that piece. But we will be supporting you through this. Our teachers are working through our technology department and the leadership of Adam Steiner and Dan Costello to make sure that they have the technology tools in order to be able to support families. They're working with their principals of curriculum instruction and assessment, Dr. Gabran and myself, to make sure that we are being able to provide high quality learning experiences for students, interdisciplinary focus if we can, experiential if we can, within the home, and making sure that they're working through with our special education department, the leadership of Carol Gahan and her team leaders, or team chairs, excuse me, to make sure that we are able to focus on equity and access, that all of our students will be able to access these materials. So we will be sending out information. You'll have a more specific communication that you will see tomorrow about what this will look like moving forward. Our teachers are setting up office hours, and our administrators are setting up office hours where they will be available to answer questions and provide guidance. And then we should see the extended learning opportunities, or I'm sorry, the remote learning plans begin in full force starting on Monday.
Yep. Thanks, Jennifer.
There are members' comments on this piece before we move on. It's kind of a monumental thing. I mean, it's just, so I want to say thank you that we're here, and to everybody. So, okay, so we are going to move on. So we've got one last agenda item before we adjourn, and that is members' comments. I mentioned to you, I have my timer on my little cell phone. I really, besides what I've already said, I feel like I've said enough. People have heard from me enough. I wanted the opportunity for any of you to say what you want to say with our 10 minutes. So I will set the timer. I'm just going to let you know when it goes up, and then we'll go from there for each of you. So I want to let whoever would like to start.
I'll go first. So first, as everyone has, I just wanted to thank everyone in the community for their just coming together in this way. We have a lot more work to do ahead of us, but I think can't be stated enough, the appreciation and the support for students, backpack program, all those levels, pantry, Mary, everything has just been administrative at all levels has been tremendous. So thank you. And we'll just leave it at that. But I also wanted to share a little bit of reporting out is that Mauro and I are working with the town, and Jennifer, Mary Jane were part of this, about the facilities director role that's still lingering out there. So job description, so that's still kind of in the works as well. And I know that somewhat related to what's going on, CPAC is meeting, I believe, with Carol maybe tomorrow or Wednesday. I'm not sure. I haven't heard much about that tonight, but I think that was the expectation, to assist with providing some feedback for special education considerations in relation to the remote learning as well. So that is something I look forward to hearing more about as well. And just to thank you everybody for all your work. And Bethlyn, I don't know, at some point if we could, when we get more information, and this will be considering having another tri-board meeting about prioritizing town considerations and where we go from where we left off, might be something I look forward to hearing about.
Thank you.
Go next if you want.
Sure.
And I'll keep it short. And mine is all just appreciation to the staff for everything that I did, as much as they worked so hard during regular school year. I feel like they are it's just Herculean what they are doing now, right from Mary Jane down to Jennifer, Carol, Irene, Charles, right through the staff. It's pretty incredible. I am so proud of everyone associated with taking care of our kids, trying the best we can. And just the high school putting out a video to tribute the seniors who are really having a tough year. Mm-hmm. And also Green Meadow, all the teachers, the middle school is doing the trivia night, and everybody's working so hard. So that's it. That's all I want to say. That I am so grateful and so proud again of our town and everybody coming together. That's it. Under 2 minutes.
Nicely done. Can I just say ditto?
Yes, you can.
Ditto. Okay,
I'll go next, I guess.
very good.
I also wanted to thank everybody, you know, as everybody has said, the coming together and, you know, how quickly things have moved has really been great. And, you know, just as a parent who now is homeschooling their, you know, 3 children, or really just 2, since this high schooler is basically doing his own thing. You know, it's been great to have the support and everything from the teachers and, you know, the principals have been fantastic, you know, especially Mike and Dan with their, you know, morning minutes and all the fun things that they're doing. I think it really helps kind of keep the feeling of school alive for the kids, which is great. The other thing that I just wanted to kind of put out there as kind of, you know, an idea for the seniors, you know, depending on whether or not we go back to school or if we don't, but more this is if we don't go back to school, whether or not at some point, you know, even if it happens in June, after school is out, and things may go back to normal, whether or not we could somehow schedule a prom and a graduation, I think would be really helpful for those kids. And that's all I've got.
Thank you. Also, another good set of comments and good points. So, last but not least.
I'm too tired. Seriously. No, just thank you everyone, because I've been MIA a lot because my child isn't sleeping, so I'm not sleeping. So I just want to thank the rest of you for really doing a lot, because I know that I haven't been doing very much for the past 3 weeks, and hopefully that will change. But because they don't have the same formula NyQuil that they did when I was growing up, I don't know if I am gonna ever get my daughter to sleep. So we'll see what happens.
Thank you,
everyone.
We're thinking of you. This is a team effort, so you've done your part, that's for sure. Paying it forward here for that, for the superintendent search. So I guess one last thing, I did hear that there can be public hearings via Zoom, so we're going to be looking into that. I will be returning to the other boards. Obviously, we'll move forward as things make sense and become clearer, but it's a good consideration around priorities and consideration of that, because they will be impacted. And then I also did further consideration around preschool and possible ways to deal with that reimbursement that I'll forward to everyone for your information. Okay, so that's it. We appreciate everybody being on this and having the conversation. Again, we always do encourage, if people have anything else they want to say, be Houlihan at maynard.k12.mass.us, and we'll be convening next around essential business. We can't guarantee when exactly that will be. So we will communicate and let you know as we're looking at what that will be. Anything else anyone wants to say before we close? Okay, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion, we adjourn our meeting.
Okay, thank you, Lydia. Do I hear a second?
I second.
Thank you, Mauro. And by roll call, because we are remote, we will also adjourn. So Mauro Hogan,
Yes.
Natasha Rivera,
Yes.
Lydia Clancy,
Yay.
Mary Branley,
Yes.
Bethlen Houlihan, yay. Thank you. We adjourned at 9:02. Thank you, everybody. Be well. Take good care. yourselves, your families, and thank you.
Good night.
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 Night.